Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. And on the menu this Saturday, we have G-Loc Air Battle, a classic arcade title now available as a Sega Ages. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. Released by Sega to arcades in 1990, G-Loc would also see ports to the Sega Genesis, the Master System, and the Game Gear. And the Game Gear, aside from the arcade version, which I did get to play some of, the Game Gear was the version I was most familiar with. And since the arcade cabinet had more power than all those systems, there were differences between the versions. It would have been nice to have some of those other versions available on this collection, but still what we have here is really neat. There were also some really awesome arcade cabinets that were related to G-Loc. There was this the Sega name for this particular arcade cabinet was the R360, which was basically this arcade cabinet that could move the player in a 360 orientation. This was one of actually two titles that was released for that. Then there was also the one where you had a cockpit that moved with the game as well. Not quite as advanced as the R360, but it gave you that feeling that you were part of the action in a greater way than just a standard arcade cabinet. So what do we have here in this particular port? Well, first off, this port is being handled by M2, the same company behind the M2 shot triggers, so you've got a lot of great quality here. There are a couple modes we can play in, the arcade mode and the ages mode. So the arcade mode is a little more pure to the arcade experience, although there were some extra features added in like this quick lock on, which I do have turned on. Then there's also the ages mode, which is kind of a set of remixed courses with a couple different settings available for it. So it's a neat way to kind of experience G-Loc through almost like a director's cut style. Diving into the arcade mode itself, we're taken straight up into the game, and you do have some ability to control the settings. You can change the difficulty, the number of credits you get per coins, and there are some other features that even with the time I put into it, I still haven't unlocked. So putting the coin into the machine, we're given our three courses we can pick, the beginner, the medium, and expert. For our purposes today, I'll show off the game in beginner, but we do have some limited features. We don't have the afterburner available in beginner mode, and we can also adjust our speed. And an expert gets really difficult as you have a lot more freedom of control for your airplane. But that being the case, it also makes it significantly more difficult. So here we are, launching in our fighter, the Sega Wing Carrier Fighter A8M5 Mark II, the Zeke, so it's all over there on the left, which is really neat. So we've got two weapons available to us, our Vulcan cannon and our missiles. So the point of G-Loc is similar to other rail shooters, or in this case of the way that this game is referred to, air combat simulators, is to participate in these missions and complete our objective. So in all of our missions, our objectives are to shoot down a number of enemies. This is accomplished in a couple ways. We can use our Vulcan to shoot down enemies, though you have to be kind of careful with that, as the Vulcan doesn't have a very long range, and it can be difficult to get those enemies into range. There's also our missiles, and that's actually the main way that we take out enemies once the difficulty picks up. So you've got this little screen directly in the middle of our HUD, and as we keep enemy fighters in that screen, it will lock on to enemy fighters. Oh, every once in a while an enemy will come up behind you and you have to shake them off. This can be done through barrel rolling, or if you have our afterburners, using that to kind of outrun them. But anyway, as we keep enemies in our little HUD region there, it will lock on to the enemies, and once we have a log, it'll say fire, fire, or if you happen to be out of missiles, it like lets you know that you're out of missiles. There are a few different stage types, so ones like this where we have rock walls around us, you need to be careful, especially when barrel rolling. It is actually possible to barrel roll or just even fly straight into the rock face and die. You don't actually get a game over when you die though, as it just eats up some of your time. And that's the main point. This is very much an arcade title where when you complete a mission, we're given a time extension based off of completing the round as well as how many missiles we have left over. The objective of the game, once again, since this is an arcade title, is to complete it as fast as possible. The faster you complete the entire course, the better your place on the leaderboard will be. And this does have an online leaderboard, so that's something to keep in mind. There we were shot down by the anti-air fire from the ships we're taking out. So this is the second type of mission that we've seen. So there's the normal mission types where we're shooting down enemy fighters, but then we also have these missions where we have ground targets. So in the case of the beginner's course, we have those ships we're taking out, but in the other stages, it's other kind of ground courses where we're taking out tanks or oil platforms, that sort of thing. So one of the things I was really excited about with this game is some of the settings we have available. So I'm going to take a second to dive into the options menu. Here we can see the options we have for the game itself. You have the ability to choose between the Japanese and the international version, set your difficulty, your sortie count, which is your credits per coin, and there are a couple other settings that I haven't unlocked as well. You've got your controls, but here's where we have some really fun stuff. So the display mode so far I've been using is fit, which is your best fit to the screen. You have some fun ones like dot to dot, and there are also other effects as well, like scanline plus smoothing, off, or just scanline. And you have wallpaper as well. But the one that I find to be really neat, wrong button, is the moving. So you actually have even just one where it just straight up looks like the cockpit, but there's this moving seat display mode, and we've got smoothing turned on as well as the wallpaper is set. So in this mode, it's emulating the arcade moving seat, where the screen, well, and indeed the entire cabinet, would move the player around. It was a really neat effect if you've ever had a chance to play this in G-Loc, or I believe they also use that one for the Afterburner titles as well, of which G-Loc is basically kind of like a spin-off series of. So here it looks like we'll just have to dodge that plane. They're getting a little bit shot up. So I really like this effect. I even find myself just slightly leaning into it as the cabinet moves left and right. It just feels right to do that sort of thing. So in the end, the Sega Ages release of G-Loc is one that I can recommend. It's a lot of fun. There are some minor complaints I have, more with the original game than the actual port itself. So I find that the gameplay, the controls aren't really that great. It feels like you're not able to control your plane as well as you would like to. Or in the modes where they do give you the option to control it better, it's just, well, straight up difficult in expert mode. Then there's also just a general lack of gameplay modes and variety to a title like G-Loc, which isn't necessarily bad, but as far as a title like this that does have a lot going for it, I definitely prefer the more recently released Afterburner Climax, which I thought was an incredible title. That one's available for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. As far as plus flavors though, I really like the little extras that were provided for this particular port, like the cockpit seat mode for this gameplay, as well as some of the other just like extra little features that are added in there. And then the game just has a great arcade feel. So here we are at the end of the beginner course, our last mission type, landing on a carrier. Relatively straightforward in this particular mode. We just need to, whoop, I don't want to pitch up that much. You just have to line yourself up with the carrier and bam. Congratulations, we did it! And there you have it. G-Loc Sega Ages served up for your enjoyment. I want to thank you so much for joining me this week, and as always, I look forward to seeing you again next week.